Okay, everybody, let me know, please, that you can hear me just fine and that you can see the opening screen, and then we'll get started. I just want to make sure everything's working okay. So let me know. Give me a heads up. Okay. Thank you, Lafayette. Appreciate it. Okay. So it looks like everything's working. So let's just get started then. So today is day 4 of our holiday challenge, and I hope everybody's been enjoying the classes. We've covered a lot of info, and today we're going to do two major issues that we trade with at 10-minute trades. We're going to talk about family money trades, but the main thrust today is going to be the magnet strategy, talk about magnets and the whole new strategy that we've been developing at 10-minute trades. So let's get the action item going first. The action item is to download the magnet strategy. So let me remind everybody how to download a strategy. It's very, very easy. So everybody has been sent and handed out the software installation sheet, okay? And in fact, what I'll do is I will drag it into the drag and drop a file so everybody can have that file. It's being uploaded right now into GoToWebinar. It's actually there twice. So all you have to do, everyone should have already downloaded the breakout and you should have downloaded the trap. To download the magnet, you just click on the blue line, magnet trade. If it says allow, you allow it, okay? And then in a couple of seconds, you'll see a screen like this. Our strategies, very simply, they are Google Drive files. To download a Google Drive file, you just click the right arrow. The files in the middle just get ignored. They don't mean anything. It's a zip file. And after you click that little arrow, in a couple of seconds, you'll get a notice that the magnet trade has downloaded. Now, on most people's computers, that downloaded file will be in your download folder. Okay, I'm not trying to be cute, but for most people, that's where it goes. Not everybody, though, but you need to know where that file is, or you're not going to be able to install it. In order to install it, you load your NinjaTrader and you go to Tools, you go to Import, NinjaScript Add-on, and then it'll ask you, what's the file name? Find the file you just downloaded and double click it. And then you'll get a message, blah, 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 third-party items. They're not a virus. You don't have to worry about it. Just okay it. And then if it's for anyone new, you just say yes, and it will install the file. If for some reason you already have the file on your computer, it'll say, do you want to replace the existing file? And you would just say yes, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to redo it. Okay, it's already there. The only issue that really comes up when you install files into NinjaTrader, sometimes you'll get a message that the file you're trying to install, there's a file on your computer that's newer than the file you're trying to install. If you ever get that message, you just want to keep the newer file. You don't usually want to put an older file of something on your computer. So that's usually the only question that comes up when you're trying to install a file into NinjaTrader. And then after you finish the installation and it says, yes, the file's installed properly, you reboot your NinjaTrader. That is a must. If you don't get a message that you have to reboot your NinjaTrader, click the little X on the right and then say yes that you want to save your workspace if you want to save it, and reboot your NinjaTrader. Okay? Then, just as a recap, when you right click your chart now any chart, you'll see strategies. Click on the magnet trade. You should see the magnet trade and double click it. And now all the items that make up the magnet trade are there. Okay. Keep in mind, remember that when you hover your cursor over any item, it will give you a description of what that item is for a few seconds, and then it'll disappear. Okay. That's very, very convenient to know. All right. If you want to remove the magnet trade, then you just highlight it and remove it. Now, there's a couple of things you need to know. So let's say you have the magnet trade highlighted and ready to be adjusted. Let's say, let's backtrack even a little bit further and let's do a little bit of a refresh of some of the things we've done in the early classes. Couple of things that maybe we didn't mention that are useful. So I'm going to remove the magnet trade and I'm going to install the breakout trade. Double click JOBB version 11. And now I'm going to apply and OK a breakout trade, making sure first that I'm in SIM on my account. I never do anything without making sure I'm in SIM and labeling even a test that I'm testing. I always label everything so that I know what I'm doing when I get to the control panel. Apply it and OK it. And now I have an item on the control panel and it's called test. If I want to add a reversal to the chart, I could add another strategy to the exact same chart. Double click strategy again. Double click JOBB 11 again. And now if I want, I can add a reversal trade, reversal continuation. And then if I apply it and OK it, now you see I've got two trades on my control panel. Always make sure when we're dealing with the strategies and programming strategies that your strategy tab is active. Not the account tab, but your strategy tab, okay? Also, see, I didn't label that trade, so it just says JOBB 11. I don't want to have 3 or 4 trades labeled JOBB 11 if I have multiple setups on a couple of different charts. That's why I always label everything, okay? So I'm going to label that reversal, reversal. The label is under setup, all right? The label is under setup. Just remember, anytime you make a change to a trade or to a setup, you have to press the apply button and OK the change. Otherwise, it won't make the change. Also, it's important to know, let's say you have a trade enabled, and it's enabled because you have it checked, enabled. You cannot go back and edit that setup if it's enabled. Look what happens. It'll appear to be grayed out, okay? It's grayed out. It's just the way the software works. It's just something you need to know. You can't edit a trade and change its settings if it's active, okay? So you can actually, there's a way inside the software, there's an enabled button. You could unenable it and then apply it so it disables it. Then you can re-edit your settings, okay? That's somewhat similar to if you're using playback, you cannot be connected to the playback server when you're downloading playback data. So what do I mean by that? If I want to download replay data, I want to replay this morning's Bank of England trade, for instance. If I connect immediately to playback, I won't be able to download the data. It's just a rule of NinjaTrader. You just can't be connected to the download data when you're connected to the playback server. So you have to make sure in your connections that you're either disconnected from everything, right? And not connected to playback. If you're connected to playback, you can't download data. So just remember that because even today, I forget that. And I try to download data when I'm connected. And I spend 5 minutes trying to figure out, oh man, I can't download data. It's these little things that, if you remember, they won't drive you as crazy as they can. All right. Another thing that you might want to do. So, for instance, you're in your NinjaTrader, right? You notice now we've got a whole bunch of charts, and you've set up your charts just like ours, right? And you don't want to do that every single time you have to load up your NinjaTrader. So make sure you save a workspace. Maybe you call the workspace JOBB, right? In other words, I have a grains workspace here. I can hover over it and then use the save as command, and I could call it trade room. And then when I go back to workspace, I'll have a setup called trade room. And then I can go to that setup, and whatever that setup is, it'll pull it back. It's a great way to save time. Now, if you do a lot of playbacks, and a lot of people do, I do a lot of playbacks. So you notice that sometimes when you load up your NinjaTrader, you'll get this auto rollover notification. Well, when you allow that to go through by clicking done and leaving it checked, it will automatically change your workspaces to that particular contract on that instrument. If you do a lot of testing, you're better off unchecking it and clicking done instead of checking it, because I don't want to change all my instruments. When you uncheck it, it will keep the instrument saved in your list of instruments also, and it will add the new ones in. So you don't have to keep adding instrument after instrument after instrument, and it won't change all your charts. If you do a lot of testing, you may not want all your charts changed. You might have some saved replay charts. You might have some saved data charts that you don't want changed. So that's just something, it's everybody does it differently. I do a lot of testing, so I don't want all my charts changed to one instrument. It's just, it means I'll have to go back and rechange a lot of charts to maybe an older instrument because I'm testing a trade. All right. So I just wanted to go over a couple of things just about NinjaTrader. Um, I just want to make sure, are there any questions? Is everybody clear on, making your charts look like ours? Does everybody understand how to use the clock and where to get the clock from, right? Topmost clock. After you download topmost clock, if you pin it to your taskbar, then you don't have to go searching for it. You can just, after you close it, you can just click it and it'll do what mine did. To close the clock, you just put your cursor dead center, right click, and close. If you find the app, topmost clock, right? That's what it's called, topmost clock. If you find the app, I don't know if I can bring this screen on to you guys. Um, I can't, but if you find the app and then highlight topmost clock, you can pin it to your taskbar. When it's pinned to your taskbar, Obviously, it gets pinned down here, and you could just click it to turn it on, and it's very, very convenient. You can do the same thing with your syncing program. Does everybody have a program to sync their time? Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? In the trade room, all right, if you go into the trade room by using our URL, right? I'm just going to go over some general things today, and then we'll get right into what we're doing. We have time. I'm just going to go to our URL to get in the trade room, right? So that URL is www, I'll show you, 10mtf, 10mtfamily.com, right? You click it, and then I go to that screen to log into the trade room. And once I log in, and don't worry about my password, in the trade room, this is what I want to show you. When you're in the trade room, hang on one sec. I hope I can show you this. Bear with me. I got to do it from a certain screen. When you're in the trade room, I just want to make sure everybody knows where to get all the stuff they need to get. That's all. It's not that complicated. But so when I'm in the trade room, and when you're in the trade room, and it will look a little bit slightly different than mine because I'm an administrator. But when you're in the trade room, you'll see the files, okay? And in the files, you've got a magnet lesson, you've got the VWAP free indicator, you've got dimension for time, right? Download the time sync program and topmost clock. And you can download any of those from inside the trade room, okay? Those tools, they're all free. If you're not a Ninja Trader lifetime member, then you need a VWAP, right? If you're going to do magnets, you got to have the VWAP. And that Ninja Trader free VWAP is vitally important. Because remember, when we set up our charts, right? When we set up our charts today, and let me put gold on, because that's what I like to look at most of the time. Looking at gold, I'm looking at the ES, all right? Looking at them right now. Gold down $38 today. That's a lot. But when you're not a lifetime Ninja Trader member, you don't get the VWAP that I get. I'm a lifetime member, a subscriber. So when I click on indicators, I get this order flow VWAP, okay? Order flow VWAP. Don't forget, you got to configure the VWAP. Even if you need the free one from Ninja Trader, configure it by standard deviation bands, change it from 3 to none. And then the VWAP will appear as a line because we want it to appear on the chart as a level, okay? So today, one of the main things that I wanted to talk about are magnets. But again, before I get into it, are there any questions, anything that you want to ask me that you're having a problem with or that you're confused about? I would try to help if I can. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to look it up for you. But I don't see any questions. If you want to ask me anything, please feel free. You know where to get help. If you have a question after class, help at 10minutetrades.com. The other thing that's very important, if you want to have any opportunity to win the challenge, uh, you have to, first of all, you have to you spell 10-minute trades properly. That's correct. If you want to win the challenge, you have to be a member of the WhatsApp group. because if you're going to make a video, which you have to do to win the challenge, it's got to be posted in the WhatsApp group. So everybody, don't forget where the links are, for the resources. And there's a lot of good resources. The workbook is very nice and useful. Um, don't forget the classes, right? The schedule is very nice and usable. And here's the link also for the WhatsApp group, just to remind everybody to be a member of the group because that's where you'll post your video about the experience you had in the challenge. Okay? Any questions? I don't see any questions. I don't see nothing. All right. So everybody's an expert on 10-minute trades, I guess, and that's fine. But today I want to talk about the magnets and we'll talk about family money trades. And, we've had some small winning trades all week. It's not been a bad week for trading. We've had a bunch of no fills. We've had a bunch of winning trades. Not a lot of losers this week, which is great. Trading's definitely not normal, I would say, this week. It's a little strange. Magnets seem to be pretty typical, even with the volatility in the markets. Um, the thing that I love the most is that magnets take place over and over. I believe that you'll never have to study any technical analysis at all, except the easiest technical analysis to study, which is trend. The most important element of a perfect magnet is probably trend. And I say probably because obviously a news event is the one monkey in the room that can always change everything on a moment's notice. You could be in a perfect long trend and you could get a news report that just shoots you in the opposite direction and creates a magnet that works in the opposite direction. So always keep that in mind that even though the trend is the most important thing in most magnet trades, it's not the only thing. But if you get good at recognizing trend and knowing what the trend is, and there are indicators. You don't need to flood yourself with a million indicators. One heads up indicator that I like a lot that is not free, and it's one of the few not free things that we recommend, is tick strike from Financial Juice. The tick strike indicator, in my opinion, is one of the best indicators I've seen. That and all of the indicators we put on our charts for free, add a squeeze to that, and I think you've got a perfect storm of indicators to help you in every single thing that we do at 10-minute trades. I like the squeeze because the squeeze, especially on a 30-second chart, I love it on a 30-second chart. It gives very nice momentum indications. Look at it, and it doesn't work every day, but it works on a lot of days. I like 30-second and 1-minute chart the best on the squeeze. And the squeeze can help you when you're dealing with magnets, okay? The key to the squeeze is use it before everybody else. Most people wait for the squeeze to fire off. What do I mean by fire off? So the squeeze has buttons. The buttons have colors. See how the squeeze turned blue here? It went from black to blue. Let's look at the squeeze indicator for a second. The squeeze, okay? The squeeze has a squeeze dot color and it has a normal dot color. When it's the normal dot color and it changes, that means it's gone into the squeeze. It's fired off. It's now a squeeze. So when it changes color, that's when most people say that the squeeze is valid. But we use the squeeze very often way before that ever happens. Look at what's happening with the squeeze here with the momentum. Momentum is going down. The price is heading down here, right here. The squeeze is heading down right here. But notice how right here, the squeeze doesn't change color, but the momentum starts shrinking. We very often will use that shrinking momentum as our entry for the squeeze. And the reason for that is when we're trading news and events and things like that, we can't always wait for the squeeze to change color and fire off. Sometimes we need to be a little bit quicker in our trades. All right. So if you learn to recognize very often when the squeeze changes momentum, that very often is a valid time to enter a trade, even though officially the squeeze might not have fired off. It's just a very good way to look at the squeeze. And not everybody looks at it that way. That's all I'm saying. Plenty of people do, but not everybody. So I like looking at the squeeze that way. The other thing about the squeeze is on a 30-second chart, make sure that your momentum length on any squeeze that you have, whether it's TTMS squeeze or gem squeeze or any of the squeezes out there, 30-second squeeze, and generally momentum length on the squeeze should be 17. Okay? Just as the value. Everything else pretty much default on the squeeze. All right? Any of the other indicators, so the order flow VWAP, if you're not a lifetime member, we have a free VWAP for you. It's in the trade room file folder. Current day OHL, everybody make sure you've got your current day OHL on the chart. It's one of the most important indicators that we use for the magnets. Order flow, pivots, make sure that your pivot indicator is installed on your chart. You know, if you don't like the color of the pivots, I'm not going to get into changing every pivot, but to change one color, you just click on the pivot and just change the color. You can make them all black if you want. I don't care. Whatever you want to do. All right. Color doesn't matter. Just so you could see it. That's all we care about. Right click indicators. These are all the indicators we use. Current day OHL, pivots, order flow VWAP, net change display, and the TTM. Some members use volume. You could throw volume on your chart, never hurts. Volume up and down is fine. Um, on the net change display, we have done this. The location I like is the bottom right, so it's not in the way of anything else. And then the units will vary depending what instrument you're looking at. You might want to look at currency. You might want to look at ticks. You might want to look at points. Okay. That stuff is just simple. You can experiment. But the key is with magnets, look how simple our charts are. Our charts are really not complicated. They're not all lit up like Christmas trees, is what I say. And I don't mean that negatively about Christmas trees, but you don't want charts that are so complicated that you can't figure out what to do. And that's why I love our charts. They're clean and they're easy to deal with. And then all you do is put your time on the chart and you've got a full trading system right there. So why are magnets so great? Why do I love magnets so much? I love magnets because any chart that you pull up, any chart, if I randomly pull up the euro, 6E, 0325, if I scrunch that chart, I'm going to find magnets on that chart. I have a PP, I've got a VWAP, I've got a high of the day, and there's always going to be a low of the day. And those levels are always going to be magnets. Why? Because lots of people look at those levels. When lots of people do something in the markets, then there is predictable behavior around those levels. It's the predictable behavior that we're trying to capture with our magnet strategy. That's the absolute key that we're trying to capture. Predictable behavior. What is predictable? Predictable is that the PP attracts price. The VWAP attracts price. Some instruments are better than others, or they're just more volatile. So they move more, so they have more magnets. Very quiet instruments, you're not going to have as many trades, right? But if you like to trade the NQ, if you look at the NQ chart, you're going to go through lots of magnets throughout a day, a normal trading day, especially on a 1 minute chart. And there's no reason why you can't use a 5 minute chart or a 3 minute chart. If you like a little bit slower trade, you got magnets on your 3 minute chart, and they work just as well as they do on a 1 minute chart. Okay. Magnets, if you get good at following trend, that's clearly a good time to deal with magnets. Another great time to deal with magnets. Personally, my favorite time to look at magnets are market opens. When the gold market opens at 820, that's a very nice time to look for a gold magnet. When the 930 markets open, excellent time to look for magnets, any instrument, because you're going to get nice volatility at that time of day. End of day magnets, but don't get caught too close to the end of the day when 4 p.m. comes and price starts slowing down. You might miss your magnet, so you got to be careful at the end of the day. But as you get closer to those busy times of day, magnets work better. It's just like all you've been taught about regular trading. Lunchtime trading really isn't quite as good as other times because the markets really do slow down and it does get duller. But it also is not the same every day. That's the big thing about the markets. But the thing about magnets is magnets get tested every day. So if you're patient and you don't make your stops too small, magnets can be very effective. My favorite magnet, my favorite setups are the high of day, low of day magnets. I just find that they work the best. They are seen by, I think, the most people, and I believe because of that, that's why they are the most effective. The VWAP magnet is very effective also, and you can see a lot of times you'll get an up and a down on a VWAP right after each other. A lot of times you'll test the VWAP and it'll do an up and a down, right? Like here you got an up and then it goes back down. So very often with a VWAP, you can wind up with two magnet trades close together. Now, it sort of breaks our rule a little bit in the sense that my favorite magnet trade is like if I get up at 6 in the morning, but I start coming in around 7, right? Maybe I'll start looking at charts. If I get up alone and there's no trade rooms, maybe I'll come and I'll start looking at the chart at 7. Look at the NQ. Man, if I got there, if I was really ready to go right at 7, I would have thrown that magnet trade right on there for a high of day and I would have tested it. Now, things that I would use to maybe help me determine if I would use the NQ or maybe the micro NQ. If we were in a very negative day and it started moving up, I might use micros because I'm going against the grain. Even though magnets are getting tested, even when you're going against the grain, it's no different than any other trade. You want to do your trading when you have the best opportunity. Your best opportunities, look, yesterday's sell-off was an amazing opportunity for short magnets. And if you hit various levels that you were keeping track of, lots of traders have lots of levels that they think are important. And if you started breaking those levels yesterday, you could have made custom magnet trades to set up magnet trades all day long. So there's two magnet trade setups. There's essentially a million systems and one system. There's two magnet trade systems. One is infinite and the other one is set. Okay. The infinite magnet trade system means it's custom level. So it really is infinite. Any level that you want to use on the chart can be a magnet. It may not work as a magnet if your analysis is not that great, but let's be honest here. Any level you want to use can be programmed into the magnet, and it's easy, easy as pie to do. So the important thing to realize is the magnet is your exit. It's not your entrance. The magnet is your exit. And you've got to decide how much money you'd like to make on your various magnets. You have to decide, do you like trading magnets the way I do? I like one position magnets more than anything. I like my trading that I like generally. I'm a hit and miss kind of trader. I like to hit or a hit and run kind of trader. I like to run my trade, hit my target, and then get out. And then I'm done. That's what I like to do. I don't like hanging around, waiting and waiting, and it just I'm too impatient. I can't do it. But for instance, if I'm in the market now and I'm noticing, hey, the NQ is negative. Now it's negative today. It was positive this morning. It's probably not a real good thing that we're negative today. I might be interested in setting up a magnet trade to hit this short side. Right click the chart, click on strategy, double click on magnet, high of day, low of day. If you leave it on 20, it's a little large. So let's leave it on 20 for a second. Everything else is default. 20 tick stop, 3 ticks before we get to the magnet. That's our exit. And label your magnet NQ. So if you add another one, you'll have it labeled. And choose an account if you're going to choose in a real live account. Okay. Apply it and okay it. Put your charts on that account if you're going to trade it in that account, right? And then enable the magnet trade. And now I've enabled the trade. When you use 20, 20 is very, very large. It's too large. Okay. Let me disable my trade and I'm going to go back to like 5%. Strategy, magnet, percent proximity, 5. 20 was just too far. So it's going to trigger too soon. I don't want it to trigger right now. See what I mean? The line is much closer now. Our entry is the thick line. Now, the magnet trade is not set for an automatic trade unless I press the magnet entry button. I think this is probably a valid magnet trade today. It's a little bit choppy. It started out to the high side. If you don't want to take a lot of risk, we're teaching. I'm not going to be able to concentrate. You could do it on MNQ. MNQ is so cheap to trade. Like it's almost, you don't have to worry if you know what I mean. Um, but so let's say we now put it back. If you hover over the magnet trade button, it shows you where my sell is. This is a short because price is going down. To be totally 100%, if you want to go short, press the long button and disable your short. Okay. That disables any long magnet trade. I'm not going to get filled unless I get to this line. Okay. I'm not going to get filled at all unless the trade's on auto, or if when I get to that line, I press the auto button. Okay. When I get to that line, it'll make a sound and it'll go purple for a couple of seconds. All right. So that's when I'll make a decision if I'm doing it manually, or if I'm really comfortable that we're going to get a good trade, I'll turn my magnet on and walk away. I know that when I use the high of day, low of day system, my magnet is going to be, my exit of the trade will be 3 ticks before I get to the target, which is the low of the day. All right. So my target's going to be almost at the magnet. And you can change that by changing your offset. Okay. There's an offset command. In fact, I'll go through the commands. Percent proximity puts your entry on the chart. You don't even have to worry about what that percentage means. When we first invented the trade, we didn't have the ability to move the lines. Okay. Now we have the ability to move the lines. I'm going to put the trade on. All right. Hey, hold on. There we go. The, I want to see if this trade takes place. I think there's a possibility. When we first invented the trade, I was saying we didn't have the ability to move the lines. So the percent proximity was so important because that's where your entry was. Now you can just hold the mouse button down and move that line, and it will change your entry. Okay. So the proximity, it doesn't really matter what it's based on anymore because wherever it shows up, you can move your lines. It's just not a big deal to worry about it. I just, as a default, I usually put it on 5 or 10. I'll probably have the programmer change it, make it smaller than 20. Originally, we thought 20 was going to work the best, but I'll have him change it. And you don't have to really spend a lot of time worrying about it. Okay. Now, the other items that you can change inside the trade, you've got how many positions you want to trade, the target, offset, okay, your percent proximity, whether or not you want a short only or a long only. You can, of course, choose your stop size. Okay. It's a 2 position. You can go up to 2 positions on a trade. You can use target 1 stop move, and he forgot to remove target 2 stop move. You can't use target 2 stop move because if you hit target 2, you're going to be out of the trade. Okay, that's for a 3 position trade. So just keep that in mind. Target 1 stop move. I'll get that removed. Trailing stop mode works just like it does in our regular software. Normally, the only mode in trailing that I use anymore would be to either turn it on at target 1, or just turn it on. And the system, the method that we use is tick for tick. And normally you would choose 1 tick per 1 positive tick of movement. For each positive tick, the trade goes in your favor. You can probably experiment with using a slightly bigger number for how much your stop will move. But if you make it too big, you run into the danger of having your stop wind up on the wrong side of the trade, and that generates an error, and that obviously can screw up a trade, right? So keep that in mind. Understood? That's why you don't want to have your target tick stop move be 10, because each tick of positive movement would be 10 ticks. Before you know it, you'll be on the wrong side of the trade and you'll get a big error. Okay? All right. Uh, Jim, I hear you. I see you. That's fine. Number 2, whether or not you use the target, the alert sound or not, You can use that. And then, like I said, you could use your target one stop move just like we do in our regular trades in the trade room. If you're using a two position trade, if you want to automatically move your stop, you can use the target one stop move feature and move your stop to break even, for instance, right? By just typing BE. So all of those things work. Also, if the market moves X ticks, you can automatically move the stop to a negative or positive place, depending on how many ticks the stop the trade moves. Okay, those are just extra features that I don't use that much with a magnet trade. Magnet trades, pretty much I'm just looking for a test of a high or a low, and then I'm looking to do something else. That's me, all right? That's how I like to use it. Don't mess with the real-time error handling, okay? Just leave that stuff alone. Shut down instrument, leave that checked, okay? You could start a trade at a certain time and have it end at a certain time if you wanted to. So that's why time is in there. Maybe, you think there's a news trade or there's a news trade, all right? And you're going to want to have a magnet trade take place. So you could set the trade up, but it won't trigger except using the time you choose by typing that in, okay? That stuff is all pretty much has nothing to do with the magnet, if you know what I'm saying. The key to the magnet trade is what is a magnet? Why do they work? When should you try to do them, right? That's the whole key here. So right now we've got definitely a potential magnet trade. Apply it, okay it. When you turn the magnet off and on, it recalibrates. So if you had already moved the line and you turn the trade off and on, it'll put it back to the percent proximity you chose originally. So if you then move the line by holding the mouse button and then releasing it, okay, it won't remember that if you disable the trade, which makes complete sense. Okay. When you hover over the mouse button, it shows you your sell or your buy. Okay. If you're short, if it's a short trade, it'll show you your sell. On a perfect day, it'll show the target also when it's calculating every now and then. Ninja can be a little strange when it calculates, but most of the time, all of that works beautifully and nicely. And then to put the magnet trade in auto mode, you just press auto and that puts it in auto mode. Okay. Enter now is a very nice feature. Let's say I'm watching a magnet trade and I'm not anywhere near where I think the magnet's going to take place. Maybe I think we're going to get a change in direction and we're going to get a VWAP magnet. And I'm just, listening to headphones, I'm testing trades or I'm doing whatever. And I'm all of a sudden I'm watching the market and the market's going crazy. It's moving up, moving up, moving up, and I don't really want to take the time to create a new trade. I could just press the enter now button and it'll enter now as a magnet trade. All right. Now, you should not do that without understanding it's not going to have your target in the right place because it might be set on a high of day, low of day trade, right? You want to do it the right way. That should be a custom magnet trade. So for instance, let's turn off our magnet. So we have the high of day, low of day magnet system, which I just showed you. The big deal in the high of day, low of day, it only works on high of day, low of day only, okay? The only big deal that you're dealing with is the percent proximity. And when that is set to 7, it's different. Apply it, okay, that's different than when it's set to 9 when you enable the trade. Other than that, everything else on the high of day, low of day is really quick, really straight ahead and really easy. Okay. If you think you want to be a little bit further away from your magnet to get filled, just move the line. If you want to be closer to the magnet, just move your line. You don't have to think about your target in the high of day, low of day, because the default is 3 ticks before you get to the magnet. You have to think about your target if you want your target in a different place than that. And that you do have the target offset. So if you do adjust your targets a lot, make the crosshair your best friend, right click the chart, click on crosshair. I usually put it on local, and then it's just real easy, obviously, to see your exact prices, to find levels, to find numbers of ticks. Use the ruler also, right? Here's the ruler up here. Click on ruler. You know, if I want a target, I want to see what that is, how many ticks away. You know, that gives me a good sense. The ruler can be a good tool, okay? Can be a good tool to use to just help you to find levels, especially in custom level trades. Now, maybe this market is really changing. So with a custom level trade, any level in the world is a magnet, any level you want. So the key is the easy way to deal with it is just look at the level, look at your magnet, and use that as your level. If you always make that your custom level, then you'll have a system that's real simple to deal with, and you won't have to do a lot of calculating. So for instance, it's 21,550,326, right? 21,550,326. Right click, strategy. We already have the magnet set up, so okay it, apply it and okay it. Right click the chart, make it, make sure you're on strategies, all right? Right click strategy. You're not going to use high of day, low of day now. We're going to use custom level, right? So custom level, and you can move your software over to the side. It'll do it on this chart. So our custom level is 21,550,320. All right, so that we have to put in 21,550,320. We have one position. We have a 10 tick target. We have a 20 tick stop. You can label the trade if you want to. Okay. Apply it, okay it. When you enable the trade, the beauty of the magnet is nothing is automatic. You're never going to accidentally put yourself into a trade, which is really nice. If you want it to be a long trade, then just turn off the short button. All right. Normally, most of the time, the magnet knows that if you're moving up, it's going to do a long trade. It's not going to do it as a short. It's not going to put you in short if it enters you significantly higher when you turned on the magnet. Right here, in order to get to our entry, it's got to go significantly higher. The software should not be putting you into a short there. Okay. If you wanted to go short there, you would, I don't know if you can do that, to be honest. We haven't done it, haven't thought of doing the magnet that way. The magnet is a one direction. It's really a one directional trade right now. We have other tools if you want to do a short at a location like that. It's a good idea for an update. But custom level, just choose whatever level you see that you want to be your exit. And that gets typed into your custom level. So if I'm looking at gold, it's no different than if I'm looking at the NQ. Look and see if there's any levels you like. Maybe for you, 2610 is an important level. Maybe that's an important level, 2610. All right, so I type that in. Let me put my charts in sim so we can screw around a little bit. Apply it and OK it. When I enable it, all right, 2610 is my level. All right, so if price goes down there, that would be where I get filled. If that's where you want to exit, then you would adjust your entry, right? You would adjust your entry. One thing you might want to do is put a horizontal line at your custom level. There's all sorts of different things you can do. If you want to go, if it's a short trade, right, then you're going to turn off long. And if it goes down to that level, it's going to put you in the market short. I have to be honest, I never tested a reverse magnet. All right, that's something I'll test, but for now, this is a one direction trade. If it's going down, I'm looking to go short. If it's going long, I'm looking to go long. If 2618 is my magnet, my custom level, then 2618 is what I would type in. All right. If I want, let's just see what happens. So 2618, my magnet entry is here. If I want to exit there though, I might want to move somewhere in that area. Now gold happens to be very easy to calculate. It's $10 a tick and it's 10 ticks per point, right? So if gold is 2616 and it goes to 2617, that's 10 ticks. So you use the value of each instrument to help you find your targets. Sometimes you might have to experiment to find targets, but a lot of you are pretty smart and you can figure out, what your targets should be, right? If I get filled at 2616 on a custom level, 2618 would be 20 ticks from 2616. So that would be a 20 tick target if that's what my target wants to be. But obviously, all of that is discretionary. Okay. But any level on a chart can be a magnet. There's not all that much difference between using the magnet software at a custom level system or as a high of day, low of day system. What's nice about custom level is you can do your VWAP trades because the VWAPs, they often get tested. Any questions? That's basically the sense of the way the magnet works. Let me show you a couple of magnets that we recently traded. Let me see what we got here. So after the University of Michigan, a couple of weeks ago, we noticed that there was a potential magnet on gold, micro gold. So we turned it on, right? It was after the news. And I just noticed it really looked like, look at gold. It was very bullish. It was up like $29. So I put the magnet in auto, all right? And it does hit the fill, chops around a little bit, and then it does work as a beautiful magnet. Now, what I believe is very important about magnets is don't use tiny stops. Magnets are phenomenal for micros. They're just phenomenal because with micros, you really can use big stops and not panic, you know? And that's so important. So you might want to practice a whole bunch of magnets with micros till you get comfortable just setting your stops. It's good to have a sense of where a move begins, of important levels of why a stop might be at a certain point. You know, you've got a really strong up move that started over here. With micros, I might have a stop below that up move beginning. If I'm using a full size gold, I might have my stop much higher up because the amount of risk just might be too much to take. But I'm often looking at price structure to help me find my stops with magnet trades. Okay. Once again, on the direction, first off, if you just have a direction chosen, Jim, then it's going to go the direction you're telling it. So that's probably your easiest way to deal with direction. Just make sure if you want to take a long trade, your short button is off. Generally, if price is moving up, the magnet's going to go long when you enter now. If price is moving down, it's generally going to go short. But that's why there's long or short buttons to be safe. Because sometimes software, you know, price moves a little funky. So use the long or short button for certainty. Okay. Enter now, you know, it's not something I use all that often, but I've used it a few times where I just saw a market. It just seemed obvious that the magnet was going to happen. The market was moving fast, or I was tired and I just didn't feel like setting it up. And in other words, I already had it set up, but I didn't feel like redoing the whole setup if it was a custom level in particular. Um, and I just hit the button and boom, I was in the trade. But ultimately, magnets are really, really simple. It's just not a complicated concept. You try to find a level, okay? You try to find a level that you think is going to be hit. On this particular magnet, we were trading the MNQ, and it looked, the MNQ was pretty negative. We had gotten stopped because we made our stop too small on a previous magnet, and we got back in. And sure as we were sitting there, it went and tested the low. And boom, there it is. And that's a situation why you could see you might want to use that extra contract. Have a target, one target past the magnet, and your other target right at the magnet. Okay. A lot of times when you're dealing with highs and lows in particular, you'll go right to that level and it'll change direction right there. That's why I like a lot to hit and run, if you know what I mean. That's my nature. So, but a lot of people are way more patient than me, and they can do a magnet with a second target, and they can be patient enough to deal with that. All right. So, any other questions about the magnet? We also don't forget today's action step. Today's action step is download the magnet class and watch it. Okay. The class is good and it goes over a lot of the features, a lot of what we did today, but there's probably a few things in there extra that I'm not thinking of. But that's the action step. Make sure you download the software and that you download the class. All right. Hey, look, it's free. We didn't charge you for this. It's really great. Free education. Now, Let me just go through. I only have a couple of slides today. It's not a big slide day. I just want to make sure I don't forget anything. I did remind everybody, you absolutely have to be in the WhatsApp group. Okay. We really would hope that you would make a video, whether you like the challenge or not. We want the feedback. It means a lot to us to get the feedback. If you need any help, if you have questions, things that you're doing, problems that you're having, email us at help@10minutetrades.com. We're pretty good about answering our emails and helping everybody. All right. If you have a winning trade, you could do us a very big favor. Send us a screenshot with the money showing, with the money showing. Don't need to do it on sim trades, but if you have a live trade or a great prop trade and you want to share a screenshot, send it, and I won't share it without removing your account number from the screenshot. Okay? And I'm not going to try to steal your money, I promise. Let me just see what else I'm forgetting today. We want to talk about family money trades, so we'll get into that next. Family money trades is really simple and easy. So, what are family money trades, right? How did we even get into the whole concept of family money trades? Very simply, honestly, I was just goofing around with my daughter. I'm close with my kids. I'm always talking about trading with them. And I was always bugging my daughter, give me your money. Let me trade your trade on this report. This is a report that I love. I really think you should let me trade your money on it. And then it just hit me. Hey, what a great way to name a trade. Trade your family's money. And that's how we got started with family money trades. Years ago, we had trades we used to call prime trades. Prime trades morphed into family money trades. Very simply, the way to do the best in this system is to trade the events that perform the best. There's just no way around that. You want to trade the events that are winning month after month after month, or that when they stop out, they generally then go back to winning, and that they don't have stop after stop after stop. Obviously, if an event has stop after stop after stop, it's not going to be a family money trade. But there are exceptions with what I will call a family money trade. And it's important to understand that even a trade that's not performing well might still be considered a family money trade for a following reason. There are events, there are events that just never or hardly ever have any profit available. There are crappy events out there that they just generally don't make money. There's a bunch that come into thought. Right now, the Australia jobs report comes into that thinking. Some of the British early morning reports have been pretty poor traders lately. They're not family money trades. But you might have a report like the US jobs report that might be going through a bad period. Maybe it's got a couple of stops in a row. Maybe it even has three stops in a row. But that report has made so much money over time, and that report has showed such a history of going back to the mean, where it goes back to being a winning trade again and again and again, that we might still consider that a family money trade. But it's very important with our system to be a trade room member, and we don't hold any punches or hold or make any specifications that you can just do only family money trades and everything will be perfect. Things change. It'll give you higher probabilities and better odds of doing well. But in my opinion, the best thing you could do is combine your knowledge of what the family money trades are and spend time in the trade room with us. And, we don't charge extra for being a member of the trade room. It's always included. In other words, if you're a pro member, we always include the trade room and almost always the trade room and the software and the DMMs together because it is a system that really to do this right, you should take part in everything. And it's especially because markets are so changeable at the last minute. And that's why I don't care if people get angry at us because sometimes the DMMs change. And sometimes the market is so different from the day that we set up the DMM that we would be doing you a disservice if we left the setup the same as it is on the DMM. That's just what happens with trading. And that's absolutely why the trade room to me is vital. It's not because I'm some special person, but it's because seeing what the markets are doing, adding that to our experience of having done this on so many events, it's really important to put all the pieces together to help you make the best decisions. That's the reason. So family money trades, though, are very simply the reports that are performing the best. Sometimes a family money trade, like the US jobs report right now, maybe bonds are not doing as well as gold. Maybe there's two setups on one DMM. Maybe just the gold setup is the family money trade. So that's something we'll always go over in the trade room as well. So the rule of thumb also is not, well, it has to be 72.4% for it to be a family money trade. That's not me. I'm not that kind of person, and I don't work that way. And this is never going to be the way our decisions are made. Um, Apple stopped making money too many times in a row, so it got the family money trade turned off. In my heart, I would still trade Apple every time. I would not call it a family money trade yet. It's got to show us again that it's back, but it's still a trade that offers significant opportunity. So, in my mind, Apple is better than the existing home sales report in general, if you know what I mean, or it's better than durable goods. Okay, it's better in some ways. It may not be better than GDP. GDP is doing pretty well these days. And then there are trades that live right under that family money trade level. You know, trades that the problem they've had is the setups have to change a lot because we just can't find a completely stable setup for the event each time it takes place. In other words, for the way GDP, or FOMC, for instance, all of a sudden now, the FOMC, we have a new setup for it. Also, the FOMC had three stops in a row. Immediately, if a trade has two stops in a row, it gets our radar up. Okay, that's just reality. One stop, we don't usually think too seriously about it because one stop could be an anomaly. Two stops and it gets your attention, right? Three stops and I'm saluting, if you know what I mean, and looking for another way to trade, not necessarily getting rid of the way we've been trading, but three is three strikes, and that means take a serious look at what's going on with the event. If you got three losers in a row, then there's inevitably something that's probably going on. Maybe our stop has become too small. Maybe our bracket has become too big. But these are issues that we have to deal with, and those are issues that can change whether or not something is a family money trade. Sometimes to me, I will say in the trade room, this is a family money trade, even though it's been performing terribly. Something like the ADP report, to me, still is a family money trade. It actually is a proper family money trade in the sense that most months it's profitable. but it has such a good opportunity of being profitable that sometimes I will let a trade like that get through, and I'll call that a family money trade. But I will always give a heads up in the room about what we think about the risk of every event that we trade. And we rarely do something randomly or crazily without thinking, and we rarely call a terrible trade a family money trade. Sometimes we get stuck in moments of change. Like it does look like the Euro trades. I call them the Euro trades, but the flash manufacturing 3 in the morning trades, they're struggling a little more than they have been. And they have been family money trades. So, they may lose their family money trade moniker, but I would still trade them. Uh, in the past, if you know their history, we did go through a very short period where they were trap trades for a couple of months. And the same thing was true of the Australia rate statement. The Australia rate statement currently is not a family money. I'm not sure that's ever been a family money trade, actually. Um, but I'm just thinking, just honestly thinking about the whole concept. Anyway, um, family money trades generally are trades that we would recommend that you trade. If you're ever worried about the performance of an event, all you have to do is ask. You can email before an event. Hey, what do you think of that trade? It's better to ask in the trade room because I'm inundated with messages from people. Look at the weekly schedule. The weekly schedule is going to give you a good idea of what we truly think are the family money trades. Let's pull up a couple of weekly schedules just to look, and I can comment on them. Notebook Crush obviously is a family money trade. Now, what we're facing more and more these days is because we have so many different ways of trading that we never used to have before. We're probably reaching a time where there may be family money trades based on the way that the trade is traded. In other words, maybe if you take only a reversal, an event might qualify as a family money trade. We're reaching that point where our analysis is getting more sophisticated and changing, that we may have that as a reason why a trade could be a family money trade. Right now, German and French, like I said, we have to look at them carefully and see if either of them need to be changed. I know that I think they've been struggling off and on. I don't think it's been one or the other, but I have to look at the results. I can't say at this exact second. Core retail sales is a family money trade. It's just been a really profitable report to trade. API, as much as I hate that trade, it just continues to make money regardless of what we do. Um, the energy reports, they're not family money trades as breakouts. They just can't be. Um, Items like the PCE price index and GDP, um, they have too much inconsistency. They don't usually blow up your account, so they're often worth trading. But there's a lot of trades that are, they're decent to trade and they often have good trades. They don't generally blow up your accounts. And plenty of our trades are, better than coin tosses, but they're not as good as a family money trade. So there's plenty of trades that we trade even if they're not family money trades. Let me pull up a couple of WMM's schedules just to show you. Give me a second. So I'm just pulling up a random. random WMM just to look at it. So here's one, and this particular event, it only had French flash services. That's fine. So we've talked about those. Let me pull up another month, a different time. Here we have ADP. That is a family money trade. The ISMs, they have to be looked at. Okay. We have to look at the ISMs. I think that they're struggling. They're not trading as well as they had been. The jobs report. To me, right now, the jobs report has been a winner gold, a loser gold, a winner gold, a loser gold. It's been a little bit tougher lately. So it may be a family money trade under advisement, if you know what I mean. And that's what I mean about family money trades. We may get stricter about the way that we use the terminology, and that will mean there will be less, possibly less family money trades. It will always be changing also. NOPA is a family money trade, but there's always going to be a bunch of family money trades each month. Most of the time, it's going to be truly based on performance, but every now and then it's going to be based on, well, this is a trade that's been doing really well. It may be struggling now, but I'm comfortable in recommending that people trade it because of its history. Maybe we shouldn't call that a family money trade, and we'll talk about that as a company, and maybe we'll be stricter about the way we call family money trades starting in January. But if anybody has any comment that you'd like to make, that's fine. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings, certainly. Here's another WMM WASD. WASD is a family money trade in my mind. More and more earnings trades are becoming family money trades. Amazon, Meta, Home Depot, and we are starting to call them family money trades. We never used to do that with earnings trades. So we do have plenty of trades that will qualify as family money trades that really are great trades also. And I think that's obviously very important. It's got to be a great trade or had a history of being a great trade, or it's got to have a tremendous opportunity to be a great trade. That's a much rarer family money trade. Okay. Okay. Anybody, let me just pull up a couple of more WMMs just to see if there's any trade we've missed that we might even call a family money trade. I'm just going to grab a bunch. The employment cost index, when that comes back around, that's a quarterly report. I hope I didn't miss that. That should be coming up shortly. That's a family money trade. Chicago PMI, it might be back as a family money trade, as a trap trade. It's doing very well. Apple, see, Apple was a family money trade. It hasn't won me over yet. Okay. I'm not giving Apple my family money. United Health, 100% family money trade. WASD is a family money trade. Okay. So I think almost all of them we've seen. There's a few that are probably sneaking through. The list will always change. That's the one thing about trading. You can always figure that things are going to change because the markets are constantly changing. All right. CB Consumer Confidence, that was a family money trade. And while I would still trade it regularly, I don't think it's performing quite as well as a family money trade right now. So that has lost its moniker as a family money trade. All right. So everybody, any questions? Any last questions for today? How about everybody? Don't forget that you want to sign up. Make sure you sign up for the WhatsApp group. Take part in the group. It'll be a lot of fun watching everybody's videos. You won't believe how much fun that is. It's really enjoyable to see what people have to say. Okay. And any other questions, folks? I hope you enjoyed the class today. I don't see any other questions. I'll give you one more minute if you want to ask me anything. Now's the time. If not, we'll be back in the trade room tomorrow morning. I believe we're starting at 8 o'clock. Let's take a look. We are in the room at 8 o'clock. I will be trading the price index, absolutely. And I will be trading University of Michigan. I think we have good setups for both, and I'll be trading both of them tomorrow. Okay? So, everybody, thanks so much for being part of the challenge. I've really enjoyed doing it. We've got one more day tomorrow. Mohammed will get into all of that tomorrow for you. The top level of membership, I promise. That will be done tomorrow in the graduation class. But it's very, very, very reasonably priced. I can promise you that. We've always been unbelievably fair about what we charge for people to be members. A couple of family money trades can easily pay for quite a few months of our membership. That's the honest truth. All right? So we'll definitely tell you tomorrow. Do you get to wear your graduation hat? Absolutely. Jim, do you have a hat? Do you have a hat? You do? Okay, good for you. Good for you. All right. I didn't remember. Okay. Oh, Mohammed, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, everybody, we will be back for tomorrow. We're never done learning. Isn't that the truth? That we're never, ever done learning. Always, there's always something new. And that's why trading is so great, because there's always something new to learn. That's what I love about it. It's so challenging. So challenging. Lafayette, tomorrow, let's look at the schedule. Let me take a look. I think we're at 1:30 tomorrow. I'll double check for you. Let me check. So tomorrow, 12:30 tomorrow, and we have an encore of the graduation on Monday at 11. But tomorrow we'll be there at 12:30. 12:30. All right. Yeah, Eastern time. Eastern time. Okay, everybody. So I'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, folks. And I'll see you all later. Okay, take care.